From Software just hit us with a surprise announcement of a new game coming exclusively to the Nintendo Switch 2. That's right, this new From Software game that is coming out next year is only coming out on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, the game that I'm talking about here is a new game called The Dusk Bloods. Now, this is not exactly what we expected from Software to do next, especially since we have the multiplayer Night Rain game coming out later this year. This is also another kind of multiplayer-esque game that is coming from Software next year as well. This is not their typical mainline, single-player Elden Ring experiences or Dark Souls experiences. This is very much reminiscent of Bloodborne, actually. Now, Bloodborne is a single player experience. However, this one is going to be a multiplayer experience. Now, looking at the trailer itself, you could not even tell. It does present itself, I should say, as a single player experience with all the environments that they're showing. I mean, obviously this all looks like, some dungeons that we'll be crawling through. This as well. I mean, this is very reminiscent of like Elden Ring and Bloodborne if they had a baby, you know what I'm saying? But they did go ahead and give us some details about this game. This game is going to be a PvPvE game. Now, if you don't know what that means player versus everyone. Everyone being like NPCs, computer enemies, basically, like bosses and things like that. What that means, I don't necessarily know. I don't really know what they mean by that, or if you're going to be able to go into the world and fight, go through this world and fight whatever it is that you want, but you'll also have invaders like in the same lobby, or I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. Now, I will say the trailer is insane. I mean, look at this thing. When I first saw it, I was genuinely shocked. I'm still kind of shocked looking at it right now. I mean, with some of the things that they've shown, I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Like, I don't know how the multiplayer aspect is going to work on this game, how the boss fights are going to work. Obviously, it looks very reminiscent of a From Software game, especially Bloodborne. But I mean, they are stating it is a multiplayer game, so we'll see. We're gonna have to wait and see how that works. Another thing that I do want to point out is this game is being directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki, which is the director of Elden Ring, Dark Souls, and Bloodborne. He's kind of the go-to guy, the man over there at From Software. He's kind of been the one responsible for their biggest games and their biggest launches, and he's directing this game. He is not directing Elden Ring Night Rain, which was kind of something that people were kind of okay with. A lot of people, when they heard Night Rain was coming out, they didn't really want to experience that type of game if it wasn't directed by Miyazaki. But this one is being directed by him, so that gives me a little bit more faith on this one in terms of being a little bit more streamlined than Elden Ring Night Rain. Obviously, Night Rain does not have a story to it or anything like that. There's no new lore that we're going to be getting. But this is an entirely different IP. I mean, this is an entirely different story, characters, all that. And it clearly has a story because there is a narrative that this girl that is talking about at the beginning of the game. So there is some lore here, that we're going to be able to dig into. But other than that, man, I'm extremely excited. Even on these multiplayer titles, I know a lot of people don't like them. I know a lot of people have differentiating opinions on them. But I'm gonna give it a shot, man. I'm not gonna kind of toss it to the wolves just yet. I did play the Night Rain closed network test, and I thought it was great, man. I thought it was a lot of fun. I don't want From Software to end up going that direction, a lot. I prefer them to stay with their single player games, but that's just personal opinion and personal choice, just because their single player games are so well done, and I mean, masterclass of game design, man. But this game looks insane, man. That doesn't take away from the fact that this game looks insane. This is an entirely new game. Night Rain isn't, so we're just gonna have to wait and see, man. And especially it coming out next year. I mean, last year we had Shadow of the Erd Tree. This year we have Night Rain. you know, the next year we're going to have this, the Dust Bloods. I would imagine that Fromsoftware is probably cooking up another game aside from this, like another mainline single player game aside from this one. They, you know, I don't think that they've abandoned that. So if they've been cooking something else aside from Shadow of the Erdtree, Night Rain, and this now, the Dust Bloods, I would imagine that we're probably going to get something like that in 2027 or 2028, which is, that's kind of crazy how many games FromSoft has actually given us. Yeah, man, new game from FromSoftware all of a sudden. Did not expect to be making a video like this morning, especially it coming exclusively on the Switch 2, which is even crazier. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I do want to get your opinions on it. I do want to hear what everybody has to say. So please let me know. Are you excited for the Dust Bloods? Are you kind of underwhelmed by it being multiplayer? What are your thoughts, man? I need to know.